With Russia, a veto power country with nuclear weapons, which managed to amass nearly 150,000 troops to cross over to the Ukrainian border, anyone, even if you're the US, would be wary of dipping their toes in these highly volatile, war-infested waters. But it didn't take long for the US to come in with their trailblazing munitions and artillery, declaring its unwavering support for Ukraine. And while the US, according to what they've said, started off with pacifist intentions, with Biden aiming to prevent the direct confrontation of NATO and Russia, the situation has very well turned into a proxy war, with the US now resorting to flexing its new big boy toys. As with everything else, Warfare 2 has evolved with an almost dangerous integration of technology. And in the 21st century, all modern-day warfare is run by a violently flashy display of military drones. They're on their way to become the weapons of mass destruction because of their stealth, speed, efficiency, and a general logistical or aerial superiority. And that too with a lesser risk. So, all you really need is a remote control, a target, and a plan, and you could very well tilt the war in your favor. And with Ukraine's ties to powerful NATO countries and an oncoming shipment of reinforcements, it seems like Ukraine is getting ready for one hell of a dogfight. Especially since they're gearing up to receive the brand new American Stealth Bird, one of the most powerful military drones to have ever been commissioned, the Kamikaze Switchblade. The Kamikaze Switchblade is an absolute monster. We don't say this lightly. The origins of this line of drones can be traced back to the US invasion of Afghanistan in the early 2000s, which came as a result to replace conventional war tools. Drones replaced heavier military planes, tanks, and on-foot soldiers, all the while minimizing opportunity and operations costs. Interestingly, the Kamikaze Switchblade is a direct reference to a switchblade knife. They're known to be automatic flick knives lauded for their convenience and portability. And while these warbirds might not exactly have a knife blade per se, their usability, stealth, efficiency, and lethal speed is why they're identified as Switchblade drones. As of now, there are two drones in the Kamikaze drone line, the Switchblade 300 and the Switchblade 600. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin confirmed in April 2022 that the Pentagon is sending reinforcements to Ukraine in the form of these two bad boys. And this is what has Russia on their toes currently. Anyone knows that messing with drones is a bad idea. As for the Kamikaze, it's a reference to a tactic used by Japanese pilots during World War II, where compact aircrafts were stacked with lethal explosives, programmed to fly directly into enemy territory and detonate. This was essentially a programmed suicide mission which killed the pilot, the plane, and their enemy targets. Talk about do or die, huh? And when it comes to their assembly, weirdly enough, these can be set up in a matter of mere 10 to 15 minutes. Which is rad, isn't it? There is a tube that is set up which employs the ground control system, through which the operator commissions and launches it. The drone then moves away from the tube, opening its wings, heading towards the target that it's been assigned. Furthermore, the drone is designed with built-in live streaming, which gives the operator a direct view, thus direct access, via the screen. And its control unit is so intelligently designed, you won't believe it. For instance, when a target is identified, the drone can simply wait, hovering to attack its prey, waiting for the perfect time to strike. As soon as the target is in sight and position, the drone quickly zooms towards the target and detonates itself. But let's take a look at these lethal drones from a technical design perspective and how they work, shall we? The Switchblade 300 version weighs in at about 6 to 7 pounds and can fly up to 6 miles or 15 minutes non-stop. even if they don't necessarily have a very large travel radius. The Switchblade 300 version weighs in at about 6 to 7 pounds and can fly up to 6 miles or 15 minutes non-stop, even if they don't necessarily have a very large travel radius. However, its speed can easily touch around 65 miles per hour, with a potential top speed of nearly 100 to 110 miles per hour. The Switchblade 300 model fosters surveillance cameras, advanced navigation systems, and of course, fatal explosive to attack targets on sight. A rather appreciable aspect of its design is factoring in the need to minimize collateral damage. If the operator controls the drone using actual real-time GPS coordinates and footage, these switchblades can precisely zoom in and lock in on their intended target, reducing the impact radius and thereby reducing possible civilian casualties and other damage in surrounding areas. And as now, we come to the other powerhouse of a drone, the Switchblade 600. This bad boy, light as it may be, weighing in at around 50 pounds, being nearly 10 times bigger than its other counterpart, can retain its flying time for nearly 45 minutes. This drone has a better range radius too, which is more or less 30 miles at an estimate. And if we come to assess its speed, this one has a maximum speed of 115 to 120 miles per hour, since this model is stronger, larger, and faster. And don't be mistaken, if this still seems small to you, this model aims to, and very much does, destroy tanks, armies, and landscapes. The United States has recently pledged to commission and provide 100 Switchblade drones to Ukraine in assisting them fight their war against Russia. And while it may be an expensive bargain, the US will still take it on. It's their war as much as it's Ukraine's. Logistically, a single drone can cost around $6,000 each. And to put that into perspective for you guys, that's $100,000 just for this shipment. But, well, it all comes under the umbrella of the Ukraine aid package, which costs nearly $800 million. It would be interesting to see the turn of events, as there may or may not be a slight shift in this war dynamic. Perhaps even a level playing field? But what's more interesting to see as war spectators, as crude as that sounds, is the aftermath of the Switchblade drones and how these will encourage a whole ecosystem that will be unmanned, thus even autonomous at a point. And this innovation is what will give one country or the other that edge to dominate. Many countries, as we know it, are not equipped to set up proficient defenses to fight, much less take down these drones. And surprisingly, Russia isn't an exception either. And while you may argue that Russia themselves have their own line of military drones, they're just not as good as the kamikaze drones. Tactically, though, other countries like China's military are closely observing and spectating these switchblades, which annihilate tanks at the blink of an eye. And now China's doing what it seems best. It's replicating the kamikazes to form their own line of lethal military-style drones. That too with better technology. Now this is scary. Similarly, other countries would take Russia and China's blueprint to locally manufacture their own line of weapon drones, and then import it or use it in their own defense. And if this technological arms race might seem daunting to you guys right now, you can only fathom what the next decade of warfare will come to look like. Competitively destructive. And if you come to think about it, there can perhaps be a time where wars are simply won by which country amasses the most technology and uses it to dominate other countries, ravaging the landscape, killing thousands of people in a split second. If not controlled, drones could very well become like nuclear warheads, especially because of how they give these superpowers a more lenient, unregulated license for mass destruction. After all, it's not encouraging nuclear war, is it? But, well, with all that said, and as cool as drones may seem, they are still machines that don't see humans. They see red, dotted targets that they're programmed to kill. So, is this technological revolution really worth it? But that's all for today, folks. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Bye!